Megan Montemiro at the Chicago Tribune. Just what made the Cubs attractive to you, and what made this the ideal fit?
Yeah, the biggest thing I think was right early on in free agency, they reached out and they showed that they were interested, and I was interested as well. And just I've been a Cubs fan since I was a kid. My family's from Chicago, so immediately that kind of interested me, and I'm just glad it worked out, and we're here, so pretty exciting stuff.
Hey, Carson, Maddie Lee from the Chicago Sun-Times. It sounds like you've made some pretty significant changes on both offense and defense the last couple of years. Just what have you learned about yourself through that process, and kind of what's that been like at this point in your career?
It's been a lot of fun. If I look at my career, I've had some really good moments and some pretty dark moments. So I think this last year it was really just trying some different things, putting myself out there, being vulnerable, and trying some things. I went to Marucci, did the whole bat fitting thing, and then getting to Detroit, they had a lot of things that I could implement in games right away, and a plan going into that off season. So trusting those guys really helped me learn a lot about myself and kind of get back to what I used to do a couple years ago. But it's just little things that can add up and put together. And it was pretty fun to see this year.
Bruce Levine from WSCR Radio and Marquee Sports Network. Welcome. Nice to have you here. Can you talk a little bit about how the catching position has evolved as far as nurturing pitchers and handling pitchers now compared to maybe even when you started?
Yeah, it's big. I mean, when I first started, the analytics were not really a big thing, and now analytics are a big part of the game. And the biggest thing though that I really believe in is I got to get the trust of those guys on the mound. I have to know how they tick, how they operate. If there's a guy I can really, push, or I've kind of got to pat him on the back a little bit more. So a lot of it, you're kind of playing psychology and all these different things, but it's almost getting to a point where you know them better than they know themselves, which is hard to do, but asking a lot of questions, getting to know them, and getting the trust of those guys are a very, very important part of this.
Coming into the offseason, the Cubs talked about wanting to find a veteran to pair with Miguel Amaya. Just how much do you know about Miguel, and just how do you view that role as a veteran? Where it sounds like they want that kind of 1A, 1B setup behind the plate with you guys.
Yeah, I mean it's important. I mean, Miguel, I think I haven't met him. I've just watched from afar, and I think he's 25 years old somewhere, I think. So I think back to when I was 25 playing in the big leagues, and there's a lot thrown at you as a player. So you're juggling learning a staff, new guys, being at the big league level, and then hitting as well. There's a lot of attributes and a lot of things that you have to balance. So coming in, I look forward to meeting him and talking with him and seeing how he operates. And I look forward to picking his brain, maybe learning some things about his game that I can apply to mine, and how we can be the best team to go out and win ball games.
Hey, Carson, Ryan Herrera with CHGO here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Talking to Jed earlier, he mentioned that what really interested them in you was your defensive game. How much of an emphasis do you put on defense and working behind the plate, and just how much of an emphasis was that in discussions with the Cubs about coming to Chicago?
A lot of emphasis on the defense. I mean, that's the number one job, right? If we prevent them from scoring and we score one, we win. So going out there and really putting a lot of emphasis on that defense. And I've evolved as well. I mean, when I was in St. Louis, I learned from Yachty and Mike Matheny and a lot of great catchers. And then I've evolved as well with, there's more receiving and throwing as well. So I've evolved as a player. I've learned. I've been vulnerable to try to get as much information as I can, and I think it's a huge part of it. And I want to be back there for our pitchers.
And
Hey,
was that shadow
Carson.
to? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hey, Carson, Jay Cohen with the AP. If I could just build off that question, I think Jed kind of specifically talked about the throwing aspect of it, especially in a division like the Central with a lot of teams that can run and like to run. How much have you evolved in your ability, like to your pop-up time and your ability to throw down and everything like that? And how important do you think that's going to be, especially in the Central with all those teams that run?
Yeah, you got to be ready to go, especially with the bigger bases and the limited amount of pickoffs. So you got to be ready to go at all times. So a lot of it, big thing is a mindset and taking that into it where, we don't want them to take that extra 90. So first having that mindset, but then also to the physical action of quickening up your feet, the transfer, just little things like that. How do we get in a little bit better position to be able to get that ball out of our hand quicker? So I think there's going to be a lot of discussions. We emphasize a lot of it when I was in Detroit and Texas as well. So I'm sure we'll have a lot of conversations internally when we get to spring training. But little bit, how do we shave off just tenths, hundredths of a second, and that's what we're going to go after.
So everybody seems to have a hitting instructor of their own now. It seems to be the fashion in the game. Does that come down to you as well? I mean, do you have a local guy that you work with that has helped you? Because it appears that your power stroke, your ability to hit the ball out of the park is better now.
Yeah, I've had a guy for a long time here in Portland, Oregon, where I live. I have another guy in Arizona that I've worked with for a long time as well, and I'm a big believer in getting as much information as I can and kind of just funneling all that into what I really want. So this last year was, how do I get my power back? How do I be in a better position, in a more consistent position? Over the last couple of years, I've broken some bones, and that's affected a lot of path work. I mean, I broke 5 bones in 3 years, so 3 in my right wrist. So that's affected a lot of path work. But now understanding a little bit more about my body, I've switched up some of the strength routine and change different people with that to get more information, and how do I maximize how my body works. And we saw it a little bit last year, and I think last year was, how do we figure it out? And now I feel like I've gotten to a point, let's really make everything that much crisper and that much more efficient. So already it's been really good.
Hey, Carson, if I could put you on the spot for a second, is there a pitcher or two from the Cubs that you've watched from afar that you're really looking forward to catching? Guys, maybe 1 or 2 names that you're like, I'm really excited about being behind that plate and when working with that guy?
You are putting me on the spot. I don't really have one guy. I think everybody's unique in their own way. And I think that's what I love about the art of catching, is that you've got to learn every single guy. And not just the guys that are on the big league team at that one time. There are some guys in AAA that will come up and help. So I think gaining those friendships and talking to people, and I think that's what I love, the art of it. And I think it goes a long way when you have a guy and when you have pitchers that want to throw to you. That's probably the best compliment you can ever have as a pitcher.
Carson, you mentioned being a Cubs fan growing up, and I don't know if you got to go to any games when you were a kid, but you did play there a few times during your career. What kind of what excites you about going to be able to play at Wrigley Field as a member of the Cubs?
It's pretty special. I mean, my family grew up there. I was actually born in Chicago as well. We moved when I was really young, but my dad grew up there. My mom grew up there. My uncle still lives there. I mean, just the whole atmosphere of around Wrigley, and I remember as a kid, we would go sit in the bleachers, and you would wait in line and go up, and you're out there for batting practice and trying to catch a ball. I mean, I have some pictures of me trying to, like, those 10-year-old kids trying to go out and catch a ball. So it's special. Wrigley's been there for such a long time in the history, and it's really special. And being there as a visitor, it's really cool. But I think it'll bring up a lot of emotions and a lot of excitement when I put on the home jersey for the first time.
What was it like for your family when you told them that this deal was coming together? Like, what was the reaction from the people that have been around you that know how much this means to you? Like, what was some of the things that they said?
My dad was telling me that he was getting texts from people he hadn't heard in a long time, right? Just people coming out and showing their support and how exciting it is. And same with my uncle. Like, it was just the amount of support and the amount of excitement. It really hits home. It's really special. And, as a kid, you're growing up, like, because we lived in Portland, Oregon. My dad worked for Nike for a long time. So during the summer, we would come home and Cubs games would be on because, a lot of day games. So that was the only thing on, and we would watch the Cubs play. So just those memories, all those things, it's really, really hits home.
Was the growing up under Molina and that shadow, I'm sure there was tremendous positives, but there had to be negatives too as well, right? Trying to be him.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I learned so much from him, just watching him, is being in spring training and during the season, his preparation, the way he handles the staff, and the leadership that he has. But I think the one thing is, I couldn't try to be Yadier Molina. I had to be Carson Kelly. And I can take parts of his game that he does really well and apply it to my game and see how that works. So I learned so much from doing that. And I think when I got to a point of, actually probably when I got to Arizona, is like, okay, now I have this opportunity. Let's go play. Let's take all the things that I've learned and go out and apply it. And, it's just a continuous learning experience.
Carson, I know you're not really in the full process of delving into the entire pitching staff, but right now the rotation has a unique mix with 3 lefties who are different kinds of pitchers. I was just curious, from a catcher's perspective, with the staffs you've worked with over the years, just what is that dynamic like when a rotation has that many lefties, and what's kind of the responsibility of a catcher, I guess, when you're navigating a rotation or a series where, like, you're facing a team where they're going to get multiple looks at lefties from your rotation?
Yeah, I think the cool thing about it is you got to get creative, and I think I haven't done too much, dove into too much of it, but I believe all the 3 lefties that we have now are all different in their own way. So I think that helps to be able, when you're going from game to game, and how you can call a game. But it also helps me because I can think about how we got a guy out maybe the day before, and how we can apply that to today's game. So there's always an avenue of ways to find to navigate a game, and some are going to be on script and some are going to be off script. But that's what I love about it, is the art, that cat and mouse game, and you're playing chess, not checkers.
All right. Any more questions for Carson?
I have one more. When Jed signed you, did he talk a little bit about the fact that the roster of the team was evolving, and you're just one of the important moves that they're making? Was that a part of the conversation that you had?
Maybe a little bit, but I mean, a lot of the talk was about the excitement of being a Cub, and talking about family, and how we've he's known the history of my family and how we've grown up in Chicago, and a lot of the conversation was more on that.